through a disaster. This isn't just a simple crisis, it is known as the most historical and memorable event in all of American history. Throughout the year of 1968, some of the most famous events in American history took place. One of them was known as the Democratic National Convention riots in Chicago. The Democratic National Convention of the DNC, which started in 1832, is an event that was held every 4 years in the U.S. At this event, Democrat Party members could form their candidate for president for a special influence. It was usually held in late August, about 2 months before the presidential election. Richard J. Daley was the mayor of Chicago. He was the man who helped John F. Kennedy in the 1960 presidential election and became known as the DNC lead spokesman in 1953. In 1968, after President Lyndon B. Johnson announced he would not be running for re-election, the Democratic Party had to choose another candidate. The 1968 DNC took place in Chicago, Illinois from August 26 to 29, 1968. The DNC lasted for 3 days, but the effect lasted 8 days, and the action led to huge social changes. On the street and in the parks of Chicago, the social conflict of the 60s had finally surfaced. Most of the protesters were against the war and they belonged to an organization called MOBI. And some wanted to show the people that Americans did not have control over political decisions. These people were known as the hippies. On August 25th, violence escalated between the police and the protesters. The riot that occurred during the Democratic Convention tells the story of the protesters that were victimized by the Chicago police. Mayor Daley was behind the attacks on the protesters or was the leader of the police department. Either way, the protesters were not able to legally protest as long as Mayor Daley did not want them to. The public had made arrangements for protest. It was between the Vietnam War protesters and the police. The weekly newspaper Chicago Seed wrote, "If you're coming to Chicago, be sure to wear some armor in your hair." Obviously, the spark of the riot was about to begin. Because Mayor Daley wanted the convention to go well, he had brought 12,000 police officers, 6,000 National Guards, and 6,000 Army troops just so the protesters got out ahead and wouldn't affect the convention. About 1 week before the DNC, Mayor Daley was not giving permits out for people to protest. Mayor Daley didn't want anything to go wrong during the convention. Chicago authorities responded to what threatened to be flow of the demonstrators during the Democratic National Convention by refusing the grant permit for any march and for any one rally. Officers who were part of Chicago Police Department were men that wanted peace on the street. All permits were denied except one allowing to use the Grand Park Bandshell for a rally. The protesters had a feeling that their permit wouldn't get passed by the authorities, but some thought it would, so they went ahead with their plan. Later, the protesters found out that they wouldn't get their permits, and now they had to protest illegally. One night in Central Park, Vivian Stovall and a group of mixed friends sat down and formed a human chain to show their protest. That was when the police came and broke it by kicking and saying some racist comment towards the protesters. It was then when Stovall got hit under her eyebrow. This human chain was important to Stovall and her friend because they were on their way to Louisiana to start a new semester, but then decided to take a detour to Chicago because they wanted to have their opinions heard. During the trip, Stovall and her friend started discussing some issues. As Vivian Stovall stated, "We were talking while we were on our way there about the assassination of Robert Kennedy, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. We talked about the Vietnam War. We just felt nobody was listening to us at the time, and we just wanted to have our say or at least be a part of something." Vivian and her friends did not feel like the way things were continuing. Just as any normal person, Stovall and her friend thought maybe this was one chance to express themselves, even if it means protesting. Protesting led to many riots between the Chicago police and the public. On August 28, 1968 was the day of the most infamous battle that took place outside of Hilton Hotel. This it was It may have not been one of the most violent battles during the time, but it was important. As CBS engineer Fred Turner had seen this battle from his house, he saw a cop hitting a protester with sticks. The cops were not hitting the protesters, they ended up killing some. Turner heard the people being attacked screaming. He also saw a guy being dragged around the street and noticed the police didn't care if he died or not. Turner said, I don't know if he was alive or not. Holy Jesus, look. 5 of them are beating him. Oh, really? Oh, this man will never get up. The cops may have just been doing their job, but they beat the protesters a little too much. At Grand Park, the protesters were protesting legally. The police became violent. Teenagers started climbing the Logan State and sparked up the cops' feelings. The cops started pulling down the teens off the statue. They started getting violent but didn't care about the effects of their torture towards the protesters. One of the police officers was forcing a kid to get off the statue but instead ended up hurting him. One boy's arm catching in the scrub part of the statue was broken when the cops pulled and kicked him off. One cop up on the statue kicked the boy's head while the boy was being pulled down. The cop had first ordered the boy to get off the statue. He unwillingly came down because he was frightened of the way the cops were treating people around the foot of the statue. He was yelling, "You're breaking my arm." And sure enough, they broke his arm. This proves that police did not care about the age of the rioters. They would go to any level to complete their job. What started as a simple protest led to a large riot. It may have not been planned to end like that, but no one could have seen it coming. Mayor Richard J. Daley wanted this convention for his Democratic Party to go well. He would do anything, and he did.